Here's what nobody tells you about death. It's not the ending that destroys you. It's the moment you realize you were never actually alive. Right now, you think you're living. You wake up, you make decisions, you move through your day. But here's the thing that thousands of near-death experiences reveal with uncomfortable consistency. Most of us aren't living at all. We're performing. We're rehearsing. We're waiting for permission that will never come. The people who've touched the other side and returned, they don't come back talking about regrets over career choices or missed opportunities. They come back shattered by something far more terrifying. They regret who they weren't, not what they didn't do, who they refused to become. And here's where it gets uncomfortable. Every single regret they report, you're living it right now. Not later, not someday. Today, this moment. The soul doesn't wait until death to feel regret. It feels it every single day you betray it. You just learned to stop listening. Before we go deeper, understand the architecture of what's coming. Step 1. We'll expose how love has been weaponized into caution. Step 2. We'll reveal the prison of your curated identity. Step 3. We'll dissect the tyranny of imaginary problems. Step 4. We'll confront the invisible violence you commit daily. Step 5. We'll unveil the difference between being alive and being awake. First, regret. I didn't love boldly enough. Let's start with what you think love is. You think it's a feeling, a warmth, a connection with specific people who meet certain criteria. But the souls who've crossed over and returned speak about love as something completely different. Not as an emotion, but as a force. A gravitational pull toward authentic expression. They report reviewing their lives and feeling the moments they held back love. Not romantic love, but the love that's underneath everything. The impulse to tell the truth, to reach out, to forgive, to create, to speak, to touch someone's life with an honest word when it mattered most. Here's the pattern they describe. Standing at the edge of vulnerability, feeling the impulse to say something real, to offer something genuine, and then the shutdown, the calculation. What if they judge me? What if I look foolish? What if this makes things awkward? And in the life review, they don't just feel their own fear. They feel the other person's hunger for that very connection. They feel both sides simultaneously. They experience the moment from the perspective of the person they abandoned, the person who needed them to be brave. You think you're protecting yourself by holding back, but you're not even here yet to protect. You're practicing for a life you're planning to live later, and later never comes. The bold love they speak of isn't grand gestures. It's simpler and far more difficult. It's the willingness to be honest when dishonesty is easier. To stay present when running is safer. To say, I see you, when ignoring is more convenient. Second regret. I lived too small. I was afraid to be who I really am. Now we arrive at the architecture of your cage. And here's what makes it brilliant. You built it yourself. You decorated it. You convinced yourself it was freedom. Near-death experiencers describe something that sounds insane until you really hear it. They say that, on the other side, they met themselves, not the self they performed, but the self they were designed to be. The uncensored version, the unedited blueprint, and the gap between those two selves, the one they were and the one they could have been, that's where the regret lives. Not as judgment, but as grief. pure, overwhelming grief for the life that existed in potential, but never in form. Here's the trap you're in right now. You think you're protecting yourself by staying small, by not taking up too much space, by being acceptable, manageable, easy to digest. You learned early that big expressions of self make people uncomfortable. So you practiced compression. You became a highlight reel of acceptable traits. But the self you're compressing, it's not just big, it's necessary. Your actual self, uncensored, is the frequency that certain people desperately need to encounter. Your weirdness is someone else's permission slip. Your intensity is someone's awakening. There's a story from one NDE account. A woman described meeting her real self and bursting into tears because it was so obvious, so simple, so her. And yet she'd spent 40 years pretending that version didn't exist. She said, "I was funny. I was so funny. And I killed it because I decided being serious was more respectable." Think about that. She murdered her own joy because respectability seemed safer. What are you murdering right now because you decided something else was more appropriate? Third regret. I worried about nonsense and wasted precious time. Here's the architecture of human suffering. You're terrified of the wrong things. The beings of light, this is what experiencers call them. They don't understand human worry. Not because worry is silly, but because from that perspective, the things you obsess over literally don't register as real. They're phantoms, thought forms, fever dreams of an overactive ego trying to control a reality it was never meant to control. People who've died describe watching themselves stress about bank accounts, social approval, deadlines, image management, whether they said the wrong thing at a party 2 weeks ago, and from the other side, it's like watching someone panic about the plot of a movie they're in. Not the movie, the plot, the story within the story. But here's the violence of it. While you're worrying about phantom problems, actual life is happening. Your daughter is growing up. Your body is aging. Your chance to create something real is dissolving. The present moment, the only moment that exists, is being traded for mental simulations that will never come true. One NDE account describes a man who spent his whole life worried about retirement. He saved, he planned, he sacrificed present joy for future security. And when he reviewed his life, he felt the weight of all those moments he traded connection for calculation. All those dinners he was physically present but mentally absent. All those sunsets he didn't see because he was running worst-case scenarios. And the kicker? He died at 54, never made it to retirement. The security he sacrificed everything for was always an illusion. The beings tell experiencers the same thing over and over. The fear wasn't real, but your life was. The threats you prepared for didn't exist, but the moments you missed did. You're doing it right now, right this second. Part of your mind is already on to the next thing, preparing for a problem that will never arrive in the form you're imagining. And while you prepare, this moment, this actual moment, dissolves unused. Fourth, regret. I hurt people without realizing the impact, and I could have done better. This is the one that breaks people. The life review doesn't just show you what you did, it shows you the ripple, the consequence, the echo of your actions moving through someone else's life. And here's what every experiencer reports. You don't just observe the pain you caused, you feel it. From their perspective, you become the person you hurt, experiencing your own actions as the victim. The small cruelties you justified, the dismissive comments you forgot 5 minutes later, but they carried for 5 years. The promises you broke, the attention you withheld, the truth you avoided, the blame you redirected. But it's not just big moments. One woman described feeling the impact of her impatience with a cashier, how that brief moment of irritation hit someone who was already barely holding on, how it confirmed their belief that they were a burden, how it rippled through their evening, their week, their sense of self. You think your bad days are your own. They're not. They leak. They contaminate. They become part of other people's stories without your permission. But here's the other side of this, and it's crucial. You also feel the moments you got it right. The times you were kind without needing credit. The patience you offered when you were depleted. The truth you spoke even though silence was easier. The review isn't punishment, it's clarity. It's seeing the actual impact of your existence, unfiltered by ego or self-justification. And every experiencer says the same thing. If they'd known this was coming, they would have tried harder. Not to be perfect, to be intentional, to treat each interaction as what it actually is, an opportunity to either add suffering or reduce it. You can't take back yesterday, but you have today. You have this next interaction, this next choice. Fifth, regret. I didn't live from the heart, I lived on autopilot. And here we arrive at the core wound, the deepest regret, the one that contains all the others. Experiencers describe a moment in the life review where they're shown 2 versions of their life simultaneously. In one, they're moving through the motions, working, eating, sleeping, repeating. In the other, there's something underneath each action, a quality, an essence, a presence, and they realize this was the difference between existing and living, not what they did, but the consciousness they brought to it. The vast majority of their life was sleepwalking, going through motions, completing tasks, fulfilling roles, but never fully there. The heart they speak of isn't the emotional heart. It's the seat of presence, the part of you that exists before thought, before role, before identity. It's what's reading these words right now, not your mind analyzing, but the awareness underneath that. Living from that place means every act becomes sacred. Not because you're doing spiritual things, but because you're fully present while doing ordinary things. Washing dishes becomes meditation. Conversation becomes communion. Walking becomes ceremony. But you were taught that presence is inefficient. That consciousness is a luxury. That survival requires automation. So you automated yourself. You became a series of habits piloted by a ghost. One man described his review like this: I saw myself at my son's baseball game. I was there. I watched. I cheered. But I wasn't there. My body was in the stands, but I was in my head, replaying a work conversation, planning tomorrow, anywhere but present. And I felt my son's awareness of my absence. How he knew I was looking at him but not seeing him. And the grief of that, of being there but not being there, it was unbearable. You think you're saving time by multitasking consciousness? You're not. You're just dying slower. Here's what every near-death experience ultimately reveals. Death isn't the emergency. The emergency is now. This moment. This day. This life you're delaying until conditions are perfect. The 5 regrets aren't warnings about the future. They're diagnostics for the present. They're showing you where you're already dying, where you're already betraying the life you came here to live. You didn't come here to be safe. You came to be alive, fully, recklessly, impossibly alive. And being alive means loving without guarantee, being yourself without permission, living in the present without escape routes, treating every interaction as sacred, waking up inside your own life, not someday, today. The souls who return all say the same thing. I thought I had more time. And the beings of light respond. You had exactly as much time as you had. The question is, did you use it? So what do you do with this? How do you live differently after hearing this? Start by noticing where you're already dead. The relationships where you're performing. The dreams you're postponing. The truth you're avoiding. The presence you're withholding. The self you're compressing. Then make one different choice, not tomorrow, in the next hour. Tell someone you love them out loud. Do the thing that scares you. Stop in the middle of your day and actually be here. Look at someone and really see them. Create something without needing it to be good. Stop running from discomfort and turn toward it. One choice creates a crack. The crack becomes a pattern. The pattern becomes a life. The review is coming. Not as punishment, but as truth. You'll see what you actually did with this wild, brief, unrepeatable chance to be conscious inside a body. What do you want that review to show? I'm not here to motivate you. Motivation fades. I'm here to remind you of what you already know, but keep forgetting. You're not building toward life. You're already in it. This is it. This moment. This breath. The souls who've crossed over and returned, they're not special. They're just awake. And they're desperately trying to wake you up before it's too late. Don't wait for near death to start living. If this touched something in you, if you felt that uncomfortable recognition of truth, then stay with me. We're going deeper. Every week, we're pulling back another layer, exposing another illusion, remembering what we came here to do. This is the work, not content, consciousness. I'll see you in the next one.